Forget everything you think you know about the Las Vegas housing market. The headlines scream of a city in crisis, of overpriced cocktails, deserted casino floors, and a tourism model pushed to the brink. But if you look beyond the neon glow and listen to the whispers of data, a far more complex and fascinating story unfolds. This isn't just a tale of a tourist town struggling. It's a masterclass in how macroeconomics, investor sentiment, and raw human behavior are completely reshaping one of America's most iconic landscapes. To truly understand what's happening, we have to move past the anecdotes and dive into the numbers. According to the latest FHFA House Price Index, home values in the Las Vegas metro area have demonstrated remarkable resilience, showing appreciation even as national trends cool. But this top-line number only tells part of the story. A deeper look into Zillow research data reveals a critical nuance. While prices are still up year over year, the meteoric, unsustainable rate of growth has dramatically slowed. The median days on market is ticking up, and a key indicator from Redfin's data center shows a noticeable increase in the percentage of listings with price cuts, a clear signal that the feverish, pandemic-era buying frenzy has officially given way to a more cautious, normalized market. So what does this mean for you? Whether you're a potential homebuyer finally seeing a glimmer of hope, a current homeowner nervous about your equity, or an investor searching for opportunity in the chaos, these shifting dynamics are critical. This convergence of data points paints a picture of a market at a crossroads. It's a market grappling with its identity, caught between its wild, speculative past and a future that demands stability. We're moving from a market driven by FOMO to one dictated by fundamentals. In this video, we're going to unpack it all. We'll cross-reference these key reports, visualize the trends, and answer the most important question. In the high-stakes poker game of Las Vegas real estate, who actually holds the winning hand? Let's dive in. The numbers don't lie. A devastating decline. To understand the current crisis in Las Vegas, we must first move beyond the anecdotes and focus on the hard, cold data. The numbers paint a picture not of a temporary slump, but of a severe and systemic shock that is crippling the very backbone of the city's economy, its service workers, and the tourism industry that employs them. The most glaring indicator comes from the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, LVCVA, which reported a 12% year-over-year decline in tourism during a critical period. In a city whose lifeblood is the constant influx of visitors, a double-digit drop is not a warning sign. It is a five-alarm fire. This statistic represents millions of empty hotel rooms, deserted restaurant tables, and quiet casino floors. But this top-line figure only tells part of the story. The true depth of the crisis is measured not in vacant rooms, but in the decimated livelihoods of the thousands of bartenders, cocktail servers, waitresses, and drivers who rely on the generosity of those visitors to survive. Their financial reality, documented across forums and traditional media, is where the abstract concept of a 12% decline becomes a heartbreaking human story. Let's talk about tips. For service workers in the United States, tips are not a bonus. They are a fundamental component of their wages, often making up the majority of their income. The industry standard for a cocktail server in a busy Vegas casino used to be a reliable 50 cents to $1 per drink. Now, listen to the testimony from those on the front lines. On Reddit's Vegas Locals Forum, a platform where workers speak candidly without corporate filter, a cocktail waitress posted a revelation that should send chills through every executive suite on the Strip. I used to average about 80 cents a drink. Now I'm averaging about 10 cents. Let that sink in. That is not a 10% or 20% pay cut. That is a catastrophic 87.5% reduction in her per-transaction income. The math is simple and brutal. To earn the same amount she once did, she would now need to serve 8 times the number of drinks, an impossible task in a climate with fewer customers. This sentiment is echoed by another worker on the same forum, who added, "We are working triple what we used to and making a quarter of what we did." This isn't just about being slightly short on rent. It's about a downward spiral of working harder and harder only to fall further behind, a recipe for burnout, despair, and an exodus from the industry. This digital testimony is corroborated by mainstream financial journalism. The Wall Street Journal gave this crisis a human face in their reporting, highlighting the story of Jacob Sato, a a 22-year-old supervisor at Pink Box Donuts in downtown Las Vegas. His experience quantifies the struggle in undeniable terms. Sado reported that his weekly credit card tips, a crucial supplement to his base pay, have been slashed from a steady $200 to a precarious range of $100 to $150. This represents a direct 25% to 50% pay cut for a young worker who was likely already stretching every dollar. His story is a microcosm of the entire city. When tourists disappear or tighten their belts, the first thing to go is the discretionary spending that service workers depend on. The data from these two sources, the raw, unfiltered anguish on Reddit and the vetted, reported case studies in the journal, converge to form an irrefutable conclusion. The 12% tourism drop is not just a statistic on a spreadsheet. It translates directly into a 50%, 75%, or even 90% loss in income for the army of workers who make the Vegas experience possible. They are the canaries in the coal mine, and they are suffocating. This devastating decline in real wages reveals the fundamental broken link in the Vegas model. You cannot squeeze visitors with resort fees and $26 water bottles without eventually squeezing the tips right out of their pockets. The workers, caught in the middle of this corporate greed and visitor pushback, are the ones paying the heaviest price. They are the living, breathing proof that the city's current path is unsustainable. Squeezing every last dollar. The anatomy of predatory pricing. If the devastating decline in worker income is the symptom, then the disease is a corporate strategy of aggressive, and many would argue predatory, pricing that has fundamentally broken the social contract with visitors. Las Vegas was once built on the illusion of value. A cheap room, affordable food, and free entertainment designed to get you on the casino floor. Today, that illusion has been shattered, replaced by a relentless and transparent campaign to extract every possible dollar before a guest has even checked in. The most egregious example of this strategy is the resort fee. This is not an incidental charge. It is a mandatory daily fee that is often hidden from the initial advertised room rate. Leading this charge is MGM Resorts International, the Strip's largest operator. In a stunning display of pricing power, MGM raised these fees not once, but twice in a single year, 2024. This move signals an alarming confidence that visitors would simply accept it. The numbers are staggering. MGM's luxury properties like the Bellagio, Aria, and Cosmopolitan now charge $55 per day in resort fees, a $5 increase. Their mid-tier properties jumped to $50 daily, and even budget-friendly options like Luxor and Excalibur hit guests with $45 per day, an $8 increase. This means a family staying for 4 nights at the Excalibur is paying an extra $180 on top of their room rate for amenities they may never use. But the fee extraction doesn't stop at the hotel lobby. Parking, a basic necessity in a car-dependent city, has become a revenue fortress. MGM also increased parking fees across the board. Self-parking now costs $20 on weekdays and $25 on weekends. Valet parking was standardized at a flat $40 across all properties. As one insider from Vital Vegas bluntly stated, MGM Resorts is almost single-handedly responsible for a lot of what will certainly be the loss of business to come. Perhaps the most insidious innovation, however, is the introduction of algorithmic or surge pricing in casino sundry stores. This practice, akin to Uber's pricing model, uses a computer algorithm to adjust the prices of basic goods like water, soda, and snacks in real time based on demand. A bottle of water doesn't have a fixed price. Its cost fluctuates throughout the day. Customers have no way of knowing what they will pay until they reach the register, creating a profound sense of distrust. An assistant manager at one such store, speaking anonymously, confessed to the surreal nature of the system. I've caught myself saying, "Wow, that went up," or asking myself if the price I'm seeing is real, but the computer makes the prices, not us. Julie Breener from Miami paid over $5 for a bottle of water, while Scott Rutledge from Arkansas watched the price of a beer increase by $2 or $3 on a Saturday night. The consequence of this aggressive pricing is a sophisticated and deliberate pushback from tourists who feel they are being played for fools. The sentiment, perfectly captured by a 63-year-old epidemiologist named D. Ellis, is, "I love paying for an experience, But if you are going to nickel and dime me, in my mind, what you're doing is saying, I will prey on your ignorance. This is no longer about price, it's about principle. And visitors are fighting back with their wallets. They have become savvy grocery tourists. Instead of buying a $5 bottle of water from a casino sundry store, they are walking to the nearby CVS or Walgreens, where a 24-pack of water costs less than a single bottle inside a resort. Brett Riley, a visitor from Arizona, embodied this shift. So fed up with the overpriced bottles, he started pouring ice water into a reused Fat Tuesday cup. Things are definitely more expensive, Riley said. I'm going to just go to the CVS from now on. This change in behavior is a direct indictment of the corporate strategy. By opting out of on-property purchases, tourists are protecting their wallets, but simultaneously starving the very ecosystem, the bars, shops, and restaurants, that supports the service workers. The casino's short-sighted greed is not only alienating their customers, but also ensuring that the tips for their employees dry up, creating a vicious cycle that is pushing Vegas toward a breaking point. The erosion of experience, from the streets to the stage. The crisis in Las Vegas is not confined to spreadsheets and tip jars. It is palpable on the ground, in the very atmosphere that once defined the city. The visitor experience, once a carefully curated blend of glamour, excitement, and effortless hospitality, has degraded into something increasingly aggressive, transactional, and sterile. This decline is a triple threat. The streets have become a gauntlet of harassment. The entertainment has lost its soul, and the human touch that once smoothed over any inconvenience has been systematically removed. The first point of contact for any visitor is the street, and here, the change is stark. The iconic Las Vegas Strip and the famed Fremont Street experience are now often described as uncomfortable and overwhelming. The charmingly quirky street performers of the past have, in many cases, morphed into aggressive harassment machines. According to a 2023 report cited by 8-Ball Bail Bonds, pickpocketing incidents rose by 14% on the Strip alone, with over 1,800 cases recorded, setting a tone of wariness rather than wonder. So-called CD hawkers, individuals posing as independent musicians, have become particularly notorious. Their tactic is a predatory bait-and-switch. They hand out a free promotional disc, only to then demand payment and become hostile when refused. Some even trick tourists into signing the CD case, then claim the signature has damaged the product and must be paid for. As one Vegas photography blogger noted, the sheer volume of people has forced performers to become more aggressive in their requests for tips, crossing the line from entertainment into extortion. This harassment extends to card slappers, who snap promotional cards in front of tourists' faces, and club promoters who offer fake VIP deals that vanish when it's time to deliver. Beyond the chaotic streets, the very soul of Las Vegas entertainment is undergoing a fundamental and, for many, disappointing shift. The city is still home to major residencies: Bruno Mars, the Backstreet Boys at the Sphere, Rod Stewart's farewell shows. But the days of spontaneous star sightings and the intimate, electric Rat Pack atmosphere are largely gone. Many of today's big-ticket shows feel corporate, calculated, and distant. The Sphere, while a breathtaking technological marvel, symbolizes this new direction, a shift toward high-tech spectacle over the raw, connective power of intimate live performance. This has come at the cost of the local music scene. As one Vegas local lamented, the smaller venues that once nurtured emerging talent have been shuttered or replaced by sterile, expensive productions. The loss is felt most acutely by the baby boomers who remember Vegas as a bargain destination for world-class, accessible entertainment. They are now staying away in droves, feeling priced out and emotionally disconnected from the city they once loved. Finally, the casinos themselves have chosen to sacrifice hospitality at the altar of efficiency and cost-cutting. The most telling example is MGM Resorts' decision to discontinue in-person concierge services at 6 of its major properties, including the MGM Grand, Mandalay Bay, and the Mirage. This move, billed as streamlining to match evolving guest preferences, is seen by visitors as a devastating removal of the human touch. The concierge was more than just a service. They were a problem solver, a local expert, and the friendly face that could turn a frustrating situation into a memorable one. This digital-first approach alienates a key demographic: older visitors who are less tech-savvy and value personal interaction. Elizabeth Rose, a frequent visitor from California, noted that these service cuts disproportionately affect older generations who are hesitant to use mobile devices for everything. A visitor from Denver, Eve Padilla, captured the frustration perfectly. It's a bummer because not everyone is tech-savvy. A lot of people just really want help and want a physical person to help them. In essence, the Vegas experience has been hollowed out. The vibrant, unpredictable street life has tipped into aggression. The iconic entertainment has traded soul for scale, and the renowned service has replaced people with apps. The city is risking its identity, becoming a more expensive, less welcoming, and ultimately more generic version of its former self. The roadblocks to recovery: internal chaos and external policies. Even if Las Vegas casinos were to reverse every fee and perfect every customer experience, the city's path to recovery is fraught with monumental obstacles. These challenges are both self-inflicted, born from an obsession with large-scale projects, and imposed from the outside, stemming from federal policies that have slammed the door on international visitors. Together, these internal and external factors form a perfect storm that is actively stifling any potential rebound. The internal nightmare: a perpetual construction zone. The Las Vegas Strip has been transformed into a chaotic and disruptive construction zone. The most devastating project for local businesses has been the aftermath of the Formula One Grand Prix. While the event itself brought revenue, the construction and lingering infrastructure have been a nightmare. Randy Markin, who owns Batista's Hole in the Wall and serves as COO of the Stage Door Casino, provided a stark assessment to Fox 5 Vegas. No locals have been coming to us for many months. Nobody will drive to this area. The problem extended far beyond the race weekend. Temporary vehicular bridges, like the one on Flamingo and Koval, remained in place for months after the event, creating ongoing traffic paralysis that deterred locals and tourists alike. Markin highlighted the cruel misconception: it's tough because the town thinks F1 is over and they're gone and everything is back to normal. It's not. This is compounded by multiple other massive projects: the BLVD Retail Center, new hotel towers, and Elon Musk's Boring Company tunnels, which have turned a simple journey down the Strip into a frustrating obstacle course. The Vegas Loop project, despite its futuristic promise, has faced intense criticism, notably from former Mayor Carolyn Goodman, who stated, "I have been totally opposed to it from the beginning and still remain so." These projects symbolize a city planning for a distant future at the direct expense of its present-day viability. The external blow: the chilling effect of federal policy. Perhaps the most significant and overlooked factor in Vegas's decline is the devastating impact of federal immigration and trade policies on international tourism. The numbers are unequivocal. According to Steve Hill, president of the LVCVA, visits from Canadians, traditionally the largest share of Vegas's international market, are down 18%. This decline is not a coincidence. NPR reported that many Canadians have actively scrapped their U.S. travel plans in protest of policies enacted under the previous administration, including 35% tariffs on Canadian goods and repeated, politically charged suggestions that Canada should become the 51st U.S. state. This is not an isolated issue. The World Travel and Tourism Council issued a grave warning, noting that the U.S. stands to lose $12 billion in international visitor spending in 2025, making it the only major economy among 186 analyzed projected to see such a decline. Council President Julia Simpson called it a wake-up call for the U.S. government, noting that while other nations are rolling out the welcome mat, the U.S. is putting up the closed sign. The financial and bureaucratic barriers are immense. Ted Papageorge, Secretary-Treasurer of the Culinary Workers Union representing 60,000 Vegas workers, explained the practical reality. If you've got a family of 4 and you want to get a visa to come to the United States, it's going to cost you about $1,150. And that's reason enough for a lot of families not to come. For a city that has long relied on its global appeal, this represents a catastrophic sealing off of a critical revenue stream. The high-rolling international tourist who stays for days and spends lavishly on entertainment, dining, and gaming is being systematically deterred by a hostile climate and prohibitive costs. In conclusion, Las Vegas is fighting a two-front war. Internally, it is sabotaging its own accessibility and local business economy with endless, disruptive construction. Externally, it is being hammered by federal policies that have made the U.S. an unwelcoming and expensive destination for the international visitors upon which its economy depends. Without addressing these dual roadblocks, any talk of a true recovery remains premature. A glimmer of light. Can Vegas reinvent itself again? Amid the stark headlines and the palpable sense of crisis, it would be a mistake to declare Las Vegas dead. This is a city with a legendary history of resilience, having survived recessions, the aftermath of 9/11, the Great Financial Crisis, and the COVID-19 pandemic. The current challenges are severe, but they are also forcing a necessary evolution. If one looks closely, there are emerging signs of life and blueprints for a future that doesn't solely rely on squeezing tourists for resort fees. The pillars of resilience: conventions and local havens. The most significant positive indicator comes from a segment less reliant on discretionary spending: business travel. While leisure tourism has faltered, convention attendance has shown remarkable strength, increasing by 10.7% in key periods. This demonstrates that the city's core infrastructure as a world-class meeting place remains intact and in demand. Corporations are still willing to invest in sending employees to Vegas, providing a stable revenue base for hotels and restaurants that can weather the volatility of the leisure market. Furthermore, the crisis on the Strip has become an unexpected opportunity for other areas to thrive. Downtown Las Vegas, with the Fremont Street experience at its heart, is experiencing a renaissance. According to Andrew Simon, president and CEO of the Fremont Street Experience, visits to the area rose 6% while the Strip struggled. Downtown offers something that the corporatized Strip has lost: an authentic, gritty, and somewhat chaotic old Vegas vibe. With more reasonable pricing, free entertainment, and a focus on genuine fun rather than algorithmic extraction, it has become a refuge for both locals and savvy tourists fleeing the Strip's excesses. This proves that the demand for the Vegas experience is still potent. It just requires a value proposition that feels fair. The new bet: sports tourism and the event-based economy. Recognizing the need for diversification, the city has made a massive strategic pivot towards sports tourism. This long-term bet is already showing promise. The arrival of the NFL's Las Vegas Raiders delivered a loyal fan base and regular weekend sellouts. The much-maligned Formula One Grand Prix, for all its disruptive growing pains, attracted a global, high-spending audience and will return as an annual event. The future of this strategy is incredibly bright. The upcoming 2026 FIFA World Cup will be a game-changer, placing Las Vegas on the world's biggest stage and drawing hundreds of thousands of international visitors for a month-long festival of sport. These mega-events provide revenue streams that are immune to casino pricing. They sell out hotels, restaurants, and bars based on the event itself, creating a rising tide that lifts all boats. The leadership and the lesson. The path forward requires a delicate balance. MGM Resorts CEO Bill Hornbuckle has reported a steady increase in reservations after a difficult period, and the company's partnership with Marriott Bonvoy is projected to generate around 900,000 hotel stays in 2025. Some properties, like Resorts World and the Sahara, are experimenting with waiving resort fees and parking to attract customers, signaling a potential industry-wide recalibration. The lesson is clear, as articulated by Jeremy Aguero, principal of Las Vegas-based applied analysis. We've proven all of the skeptics wrong. The key is the value of experience as a draw to Southern Nevada. The success of the Sphere, despite its high costs, proves that Vegas can still command a premium for genuine, unparalleled experiences. The city's destiny is not to become a cheap destination again, but to become a fair one. The reinvention will not be easy. It demands that corporate giants prioritize long-term sustainability over short-term shareholder gains, and that the city manages growth without strangling its present. Yet, history shows you should never bet against Las Vegas. The city is in a painful but necessary transition, learning that its greatest asset isn't its casinos or its technology, but its ability to adapt and once again give people a reason to believe in its fabulousness. Conclusion: the high-stakes bet on Vegas's future. The story of modern Las Vegas is a cautionary tale of corporate short-termism colliding with a shifting global landscape. The city's core crisis was not invented overnight. It was engineered through predatory fees, algorithmic pricing, and a systematic erosion of the guest experience, all of which drove away the tourists and decimated the incomes of the workers who formed the city's backbone. This internal decay was then exacerbated by external shocks, federal policies that alienated international visitors, and massive construction projects that disrupted the flow of both people and capital. Yet, as it has so many times before, Las Vegas is showing flickering signs of a potential comeback. The resilience of convention business, the thriving local vibe of downtown, and the bold pivot toward a new identity as a sports and event capital provide a clear roadmap for survival. The success of the Sphere and the impending arrival of the World Cup prove that the world still wants what Vegas can offer. The fundamental question remains, will casino executives learn the right lesson? The path to recovery doesn't lead through higher fees and more extraction. It leads through value, authenticity, and a return to hospitality. The choice is stark. Vegas can continue down its current path as a sterile, overpriced playground that preys on its customers, or it can reinvest in the magic, the human connection, the spontaneous fun, the sense of genuine value that made it a global icon in the first place. The future of the city that never sleeps depends on the bet it places now.